All right. Well, let's switch gears here really quick to some listener submitted business advice. We're calling this, we'll come up with the name eventually. Hopefully, we get sponsors for it. Business advice. So these are questions that people have sent in to us that they are looking for a little bit of business advice that we can help them out with. So let's see if we can help some people today. So I did not organize these very well. My gosh.
And then be organized in your business. Like you need to be really.
Okay, it's organized now. Okay, subject line. Big client wants free work. My biggest client just reached out asking for what they called minor adjustments. The problem, it's not covered in our agreement and realistically adds up to a full week of extra work. I know the standard advice, either push back or diversify your client base, but when one client makes up the bulk of your revenue, it's a lot harder to draw that line. Honestly, I feel trapped. Right now, I'm leaning toward doing the extra work to keep the relationship smooth, even though my gut tells me I may regret it. So I'd love your input. If you've been in this situation and went ahead with the unpaid work, how did it turn out for you? Based on your experience, what would you do in my shoes? Aaron.
So it honestly didn't happen a ton with me, like people asking for free work. It honestly depends on how long you've had that client and how much they're already paying you. If this is a client that is habitually doing this, you have to kind of put the kibosh on that. When it would happen, it was something like, for example, one of our biggest clients needed a wall painted or whatever. There was something in one of their call centers and they asked us if we could do it. It was definitely not in our purview. And we did it because they paid us a lot of money anyway. And I think I think we charged them just for like the supplies. And it was a very, very small amount. It should have probably been like 10 times as much if an actual, and the fact that we weren't painters, they just wanted it as done. They wanted it done as cheaply as possible. So we did do that, but you would run into that all the time. There was, I just said like, that never happened, but I'm just, now that I'm thinking about it with the carpet cleaning aspect of it, of like residential, you'd have people that would want to throw in, hey, could you do this? You're already here. Can you just do this one room for free? Like it's a small room, whatever. And I would just always say no. I would be like, yeah, we're already here. Normally it would cost, let's just say it'd normally be $80 to do that room. We could do it for 40, but we're not going to do it for free. And sometimes they'd say yes, sometimes they'd say no. But the doing stuff for free, you can't do that. You gotta make sure because that's gonna put you in a spot again financially where it can really screw you over. So if it's a large client that's been paying you for a long time and they're not constantly trying to get stuff out of you, sure, go for it. If it's a new client and they're trying to get free stuff out of you, you need to already have that kind of expectation that they're not getting stuff for free.
For me, this all comes down to how much they're paying. As
Yes.
an agency
Yes.
owner, this happens all the time. How much are they paying? Because like one of my biggest clients is $3,000 a month. And I'm like, you got to stop. You're adding an extra week of work for a $3,000 client. But if you were then going to come back to me and then say, actually, it's a client that's $100,000 a month, I'm like, it'd be worth it. It might be worth doing that full, like just to keep them happy. And then I have something baked in called like the asshole tax. Does this client suck? I know that you say that they have done this before. Are they like generally nice people or do they bring a lot of stress into your life? Because you may want to consider. So I know what did you say here? I know the common thing that people say is diversify your client base. You may want to start diversifying your client base if they suck, if they're regularly doing this, because you're just going to start burning out. There's a reason that you sent this into us, and it's because you are unhappy. So if this makes you unhappy, you have to start doing the things that, and honestly, it's just going to be what Aaron said of telling them the truth. Like, hey, so minor adjustments, they aren't minor adjustments. This is going to take us about 30 to 40 additional hours worth of work. Are you okay with adding that into your scope or something like that? Then they'll get on a call with you and you guys can discuss back and forth what works and what doesn't work. And guess what? If you're good at what you do, that client's not going anywhere. So if your fear is they're going to leave, I've lost one client the entire time during Keystone. I fired another, but I've only lost one client the entire time that we've been doing Keystone. And it was simply just a budgetary thing, the reason that we lost them. Your clients, if you are good at what you do and you care about them, aren't going anywhere. It doesn't even have to be mean. Just, hey, I just want to let you know these aren't minor adjustments. This has to happen. This has to happen. This has to happen. This has to happen. It's going to cost this much money. And they're going to say what Aaron said, yes or no. And I was like, okay, cool.
Yeah. And maybe they don't know how long it's going to take. Maybe that's the other thing. Maybe in their mind, like, oh, this is going to take them 30 minutes. But if you, like Alex said, break down exactly how much time that's actually going to take, maybe like, oh, yeah, I guess that was kind of an unreasonable request to get done for free. And then you can always negotiate on that price too. Instead of being free, like I said, with the painting thing, it was like, yeah, we'll do it. Essentially, most of the labor will be for free, but you guys still need to pay for all of the material that needs to be done. Or the carpet cleaning situation where people would ask for a free room to be done. You just negotiate. And if they didn't want to do it, okay, then we're not going to do it. That's fine too. But give them the option. Then it's their option now. Yeah, we can do it, and we'll give you a discounted rate. You've been great as a client, and we really like you, but this is how much we'll give you, whatever your discounted rate would be. So we can do it for this much. Do you still want us to move forward? Now it's them saying yes or no. And then you're kind of off the hook.
In my experience, I've never had a client where this has like turned out badly. Most people are reasonable people. So like if your fear is like, oh, this person's going to quit, and feel free to like do a follow-up and be like, yeah, they quit because I pushed back on this. I would stake all of my life savings that they are just going to say, oh, okay, never mind. Or, okay, yeah, let's add that in. If you've been with them a long time, you're going to be fine.
Right.
All right, last email. I'm a little nervous about this. Employee turning me into a dick. Didn't want to get political, but I guess here we go. I run a small business with 4 to 13 employees, and it's been tough. I'm introverted. Most of my team is younger than me, and they're all close with each other. Meanwhile, I struggle to get out of my own head, share my thoughts clearly, or give feedback without feeling awkward. I tend to be short and reserved, and I hate criticizing employees when they're distracted or underperforming. In the moment, I often fumble for words, come across too harsh, or regret not saying anything at all. One of my part-time employees spends maybe 20 to 40% of their shift working and spends the rest of it socializing and distracting other employees. The employee that they are distracting happens to be a very important person in my business, and it's been affecting their performance. I am completely incapable of asking the distractor to get back to work. I literally don't know how to say it without coming off like an asshole. Whenever I do try, it's extremely awkward and I coil back and don't say anything. Aaron?
Yeah, I'll tell you what you need to do. You need to be doing this as a business owner anyway. You need to be doing one-on-ones with all of your people. I don't think you should be calling people out in front of everyone else, because that usually, maybe there's a time when that makes sense, but I'd say 99% of the time, this is exactly why you have one-on-ones with client or with your employees. And I would bring it up like, hey, I've noticed this. This is what needs to happen, and this is what will happen if you don't change. And it takes one bad employee to just completely fuck up the vibe of a business. And if this is a part-time employee who apparently is like super part-time because they only work, what'd you say, 20% of the time?
Well,
whatever it was,
spends 20 to 40% of their shift working. So let's say it's 20 hours a week. They're only actually doing about 8 hours of work a week.
So you're essentially paying somebody to distract other employees. This is I would set very clear expectations on what needs to happen after that conversation you have with them. If it doesn't change, cut them loose. You can find somebody. There's plenty of shitty employees that you could hire. And there's also good employees that you can hire. So if there's someone that's really, not only you're paying them a significant amount of money, to distract other employees, which is also losing you money, you got to cut that dude loose. But before you do that, make sure you have that process in writing. Like when you're doing these one-on-ones, everything needs to be in writing, because if you end up letting that person go and they try and come back and say, I was fired without cause. This happened all the time with my cleaning business. We had a very strict policy on everything was in writing. Everyone knew all the stages of why they got fired. And they would come back with, I never got sued, but they'd come back with, what is it, like the unemployment office would come like, hey, this person says they were fired without cause. And so now, they're going to be getting unemployment. What do you have to say about that? And I could just email them all of the forms that we had, all of like the warnings, written warnings, final warnings, all of that. And I would send that over to them. They'd be like, this is great. Never mind. Don't worry about it. But if it's just your word against the other person's word, you're going to lose that every time. Get everything in writing.
Yeah. When I first read this earlier, I didn't realize it was a part-time employee. So like my thing would just be, I'm like even more harsh than Aaron. Like, yeah, go through like all those steps. I'm like, just get rid of this dude. They're working 8 hours a week of the 20 hours that they're supposed to be working, or woman, could be a woman. Everyone can distract. We're all capable of that. I would just get rid of the person. Yes, document everything. And then also make sure, the only thing I would add is keep everything as ambiguous as possible. So for example, I wouldn't go into my one-on-one with this person and be like, let's just use Joe. Like, hey, you're distracting Joe. I need you to stop distracting Joe. All it comes down to when you're going into this conversation is, I don't see you spending enough time working. I estimate about 40% of your time is working, and then the rest of it is just kind of messing around. I need you to be on task. And then similarly, when you have, because you should have one-on-ones with everyone, like Aaron said, when you're having your one-on-one with, was it Joe? When you're having your one-on-one with Joe, don't bring up homeboy or homegirl. You just talk to Joe and be like, hey, you're doing awesome. I think that there are people who are distracting you and not allowing you to, also not knowing what your incentives are. It's kind of hard for me to suggest this, but if you have incentives where these people can receive bonuses and make more money by doing better work, it's like, and I just don't want to infect, LOL, affect the total amount of money that you could be making. Like, this person is holding you back from making X, Y, and Z amount of money. And remember, don't say this person, just say these distractions. That would be like the only thing that I would add to it, because having gone through one-on-ones where specific people were pointed out of why I was doing a bad job because they were better at that work, I started to resent those people and bridges were burned because of it. And that's like one of my greatest regrets, is allowing one-on-ones I had. We're like, I'm just going to use the name Joe again. Like, I mean, you say that you can't do it, but Joe's doing it. So why can't you do it if Joe can do it? And then being like, first off, gaslighting Joe. Like, I ended up having conversations with Joe, and Joe wasn't doing those things that my employer was saying. So you have to be very honest and make sure you don't create an environment that becomes incredibly, incredibly negative and toxic. So my guess, just from hearing all this though, is do what Aaron said, get everything documented, start going through that process. And then you're probably going to have to get rid of your part-time employee.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, thanks for the listener submitted advice, everybody. If you have any questions that you want us to read, the email is unsexybusinessmen@gmail.com. That's, once again, unsexybusinessmen@gmail.com. Don't forget to go to unsexybusinessmen.com. Check out the different offers that we have there for all of the different business opportunities. We got the legal documents, 20 plus legal documents that you can use to make creating your business way easier. We have the workbook, lets you go step by step by step by step, everything. We have the course that takes you from start to finish of getting your business created and to getting your first client. Go have a lot of fun, and we will catch you next week.